Are we supposed to be putting our 10-year-old in the gym and telling him to pick up kettlebells and run from one end to the other?
Hey, I mean, if they want to.
No. Come on. Lifting weights is bad for kids. It stunts their growth. Everybody knows this. I mean, that's what I was told. So
yeah, I would say at least like that notion over the last couple decades has been dying off slightly.
Yeah.
Fortunately, but I remember hearing that as a kid.
Yeah.
You can bench press, but I'd probably wait a couple years. And I'm like 10 or 12. And I'm like, oh, yeah, okay. Like, what were you going to do? Question it? But
you're saying it's dying off?
That idea is 100% dying off. It's not gone, because I'm sure if we talk to parents and grandparents, or all you have to do, actually, if you go on YouTube and you search like video of strong kid lifting 200 pounds, like click it. It's this kid, an amazing feat of strength, really cool. You just look in the comments and you just see people like, oh my gosh, terrible technique. They're not gonna be able to walk when they're 40. They look crazy. Oh, my knees just watching that.
Yeah.
All you have to do is to get a taste of that notion is to look at the comments on something like that.
Yeah.
And it's a shame. It's a shame because that's not the whole problem. The whole problem, there's a lot of factors. There's underserved communities, not enough, what's the word? Like access to facilities with the right equipment or with safe equipment.
Right.
Or access to the right healthcare professional or the right coach or the right teacher. If only we could act like this was so simple.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But again, we're still undoing a lot of that stuff. What I really want to say is there are tons and tons of kids, like over 50% of the population, I believe, 50 to 60% of the population have kids enrolled in organized sport. Most of those sports, baseball, football especially, basketball, soccer especially, have, don't quote me. I want to look at some of these percentages. I had them and I lost them. The rate of injury in those sports for youth athletes is a way higher rate than any gym-related, weightlifting based sport, any of those activities. It's a fraction. There's a fraction of a percentage of risk.
Well, it makes sense, especially with something like football, where the whole point is to collide with each other.
Right. But in general, it's like, what's the holdup with letting a kid get under a barbell or letting them put a barbell over their head or lift up a dumbbell? I mean, what's the fear? It's like, oh my goodness, we're going to put a bar and axially load them and crush their growth plates? Are you kidding me? Like, that's the fear.
Is that what the concern? Because I had no idea. I always thought it was just like, I don't know, mess with your hormones or something.
Well, I mean, see, there's a lot that goes into that. It's funny what we've been told.
That is bizarre.
I was always concerned, like, literally, I'm pretty sure that literally came from, like, there are growth plates.
Yeah.
And they, secrete like cells or whatever to like tell your bones to harden and to grow and to mature.
Right.
And God forbid you carry something or you like put something on top of them. Well, you're going to crush them. Like they're not going to grow. Like
so literally. It's just common sense.
It's just common sense.
Obviously this is what's going to happen.
Yeah. And so that,
oh my gosh,
I think like legitimate, like that's slightly reductionist, I would say, but that has prevented a lot of young people from, doing exercise before they specialized into all these sports.
Yeah.
So that is a huge part. And so maybe that's one takeaway.
Okay.
There's not a huge fear.
I think that should be restated very, very clearly. If you're telling a child they shouldn't exercise with weights or anything else because of something they're going to do to themselves and harm their growth, that's almost certainly nonsense.
Yeah.
Please stop that.
Right.
Let kids exercise.
Yeah. The growth plate injuries and those sorts of injuries, you're as likely to have those doing motocross or playing football or doing those sorts of things. And, just because of the societal norms,
right?
And, the way somebody else was raised, it's like, well, that was normal for me. It toughens them up and Do what you got to do. Like we're more literally, we're more likely to put kids on a football field at this point.
Yeah.
Before doing really any sort of general exercise.
Yeah. That's a good point.
And so I don't know.
Wow.
That's part of the undoing, right?
That makes sense.
Grit,
okay.
That's grit deficiency though.
Yeah, it's the grit. I mean, if you don't, right. Grit deficiency. That'll teach them.
All right. So give me some more. What else?
I like this. I think we'll just keep kind of spitballing. I don't think this isn't necessarily for coaches to make an exercise program for kids.
Right.
But this is just, maybe for a parent or for a guardian or some aunt and uncle, just what would be okay to let them do? Let's just say shed a little more light on the subject. Given what we were just saying, it shouldn't be inferred that you just let a kid unsupervised go in the gym. You drop them off at LA Fitness and say 3 sets of 12, all major muscle groups. Like that doesn't mean that either.
Yeah.
There's still going to be, depending on the age, more of a supervised role that you would have to play. And again, like Josiah said, you're going to have to be the example.
Yeah.
You're going to have to learn some of these things the hard way yourself. In order to, you can't give something that you don't know necessarily.
Yes. Yeah.
And I've actually run into that a lot with coaching. It's like somebody wants to run a marathon or run an ultra marathon, and I don't have I didn't do that per se, run an ultra marathon. How can I give somebody the tools if I haven't done it?
Yeah.
Basically that just means you got to kind of do a little extra to make sure you're comfortable prescribing exercise or prescribing this set of things, especially for a kid.
Yeah.
So I would say, if we shift this to younger populations, it would make sense to keep exercise, even in a structured setting, to keep it more play oriented. So when you're warming up, it would make sense to, keep score.
Yeah.
Give points, throw a ball, task oriented.
Have a race.
Go chase this ball, pick this other one up and throw it back to me. Like sort of, things that are incorporating exercise and teaching them to self-organize, but that aren't necessarily explicit. Like, all right, I want you to do this back squat, 4-second negative, 2-second pause, come up, take a deep breath, do this, stuff that's just it's going to go over like an 8-year-old's head. And they're going to be like, oh, I'm going outside to play.
Keep it fun.
Keep it as fun as possible.
Yeah,
definitely. Now, as they show more interest, I would say there's absolutely no problem with incorporating sets of 10, sets of 12, sets of 15, do 2 sets, rest for a minute. Like you can start to teach those principles.
Yeah.
But they're not at the stage to say, this is your workout, right. Tyler, you're 10.
Yeah.
You got it, dude. Just
good luck.
Call me after, you know? That's one way to do it. I mean, I've been working actually with one of my nephews. I didn't force him to do anything. That's also key. I let him come to me. He's interested in doing it. He saw the cleans and the snatches, and like you can tell there's a little bit of an interest, but I only show and teach and do what they have interest in.
Yeah.
I let them let him dictate the session a little bit. Like you go in with some constraints and, you warm up with a little bit of play.
Right.
And then you get to some patterns that make sense, air squats, push-ups, hanging, jogging, backpedaling, turning, hopping, whatever. You hit these sort of foundational patterns and such.
And how old is he?
He's 8.
Okay.
Yeah, he's 8.
Yeah. And so it's still play, but he's expressed interest and a desire to learn, and that makes him infinitely more teachable. Mm-hmm. Okay. But you are actually showing him movements and showing him this is how to do this and this is how to do that.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. And the key is, kids at that age, they, I think what's driving him potentially is just that he's interested in his sports. Like he wants to get better at baseball. And so he's connecting some of the stuff that we're doing, like, oh, maybe this will make me a better baseball player or basketball player. And so that helps.
Yeah.
It shouldn't just be all goal oriented in terms of being the best sports player.
Sure.
Because maybe there's issues with that long term, like telling an 8-year-old, like you You want to be the best baseball player ever? Well,
Right.
It starts now.
Right.
Grit.
Right.
You're grit deficient, and we're going to correct that this summer. You know? So that's a key element of this.
Yeah.
Is there's not just physical burnout, but there's psychological burnout. And where does that cultivate?
Yeah, no, I remember hearing, I don't remember where I heard it, but somebody else talking about the notion of you want to be as good of a golf player as Tiger Woods. Okay, great. But recognize that comes with all the rest of what it means to be Tiger Woods.
Right.
It comes with the substance abuse, and it comes with the broken marriages and the infidelity, and it comes with all of that goes along with it because it's you don't get to be as good as he is without having a jacked up childhood that puts him in that position. Mm-hmm. And so maybe that's not a good idea to train a child in that direction because it creates a hyper competitive nature as opposed to a playfully competitive nature. Mm-hmm. Does that make sense?
Definitely. The other part of that's key is just how do you have a conversation about something like that? You know, it's like in my mind, at least what the literature shows is you look at some of the top athletes, like Tiger Woods is an anomaly on all fronts. Like he's the best of the best.
Right.
But as far as predictors of success, so if you really want to have this conversation with a kid who wants to have this conversation, maybe a little earlier than normal. I mean, there are kids like that for sure.
Yeah.
Like they want to be a pro when they're 10 and that's it. And you tell them otherwise, like they exist, you know? But what you stress to them is that, hey, the best players at the sport that you're playing who have done it way before you, they played a lot of sports when they were 10. They did a lot of different activities. They swung on the jungle gym. They swam. They climbed. They crawled. They tackled. They tumbled. They jumped. They whatever.
Yeah.
They did all these things. And it's, maybe not so black and white, but the numbers say that those kids who specialized later, continue to play football, continue to play basketball in addition to their baseball into high school, into their sophomore and junior year. The ones that waited longer to quit those other sports to focus on baseball, those are the ones that had the most success. Those that were the most well-rounded.
Yeah.
It's like academics. I mean, as much as I hated, I knew I wanted to go to pharmacy school. I was so, I knew exactly what I wanted.
Right.
Well, forget history, forget this. Right. I liked writing, but because I wanted to go to pharmacy school, I hated English.
When are you ever going to have to write for a living as a pharmacist?
Right. So it's those ideas that thinking back on it, like nobody could have told me that really at that age, but it's really an apples to apples comparison. Like you want to be as well-rounded. I mean, my goodness, like who would have thought when I was 18, we'd be on a podcast right now having to draw on all these life areas.
Exactly.
Pretend, when you're 10, pretend like you need access to all those physical characteristics that you cultivated when you were 10. Pretend that when you're a pro, if we really want to go there, pretend that you need all those skills. It's going to make you a better player. And it's going to make you, more importantly than being a better player or winning or scoring more points, it's going to make you more well-rounded. It's going to make you more resistant to falls. And then it's going to make you more resistant to issues if you do have a fall.
Yeah.
It's going to make you more resistant to type 2 diabetes. All those things that eventually become part of the conversation. That all sounds like points in games today. That, again, you can be working on those things right now in fun ways.
Yeah.
In fun ways, for sure.
That makes a lot of sense. The big takeaway that I heard too, that I want to stress again, lead by example and incorporate play. Those are the two things that I think are really cool. Leading by example, that's a hard one because if you want your kids to change, the reality is you might have to change first and show them how that's done.